alone with yourself means. Sometimes being alone with yourself is being okay with just the memory and learning I don't need to make another memory because I already have one. And whatever newer memory I have with that same person or those people associated with things, it's okay for us to reach out and make new memories. And don't compare memories. Oh, this time it was better, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nah, did you enjoy what was in front of you? You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, hey, what's up? It's your boy Juice from Get Home Safe here with another episode of Mental Health Monday. Got my boy Brit. What up, boy?
What's the knowledge, Juice? It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Appreciate you, man.
We just had a great little precursor to the conversation. And I'm feeling really grounded right now. I had a lot going on today, but I appreciate you tapping in with me.
No, of course. Just let you know this your camera. If you ever have anything personal you want to say, that's all you. That it's just you on the screen. See my hand, and then it's just you.
Okay, there
and this is us right here.
Okay,
yeah.
Knowing where to look.
I got you.
Like it's one of those like like sitcom moments. Like I look at this screen, like,
The Office. All right, so tell the people who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, man. So I own Profit Fitness. I'm a wellness coach. Started off as a personal trainer, but I would say I'm honestly a yogi at heart. And for me, wellness is so ingrained into my journey from a place of trauma. I grew up in Albany, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Birthplace of Ray Charles. Most of my life, I had no concept of health whatsoever. And I became very apparent of that in college. Went to Georgetown University on a full academic scholarship. Thought I wanted to come to DC and be a politician. Worked on the Hill. Hated it. And those first couple of years really taught me that, hey, I don't have a vocabulary for understanding what's going on. I was the type of person that felt like I had to react aggressively to anything that was sent my way, or I had to be overly intelligent. And whenever like a boundary I hit, I just would break down, you know what I'm saying? And so about 2 years into college, after just being completely lost, not having a sense of purpose, not having a place to really express myself, or a place I felt safe to express myself, I took a medical leave of absence. I had like burned so many bridges. I can honestly say I had a lot of Kanye moments during that experience. I'm a Gemini, you know what I'm saying? I was born 1994, May 25th. And at the time, my father, who was a Marine drill sergeant, I had the best relationship at the time. He got stationed in Japan, and he allowed me to come stay with him to get my mind together. And while I was there, I had felt so hopeless, so lost that I was willing to try anything.
Yeah.
I was 70 pounds overweight from what I am now. I never played a sport in my life. I never worked out. I was a big anime nerd type kid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
still an anime nerd.
Still an anime. Hey,
that don't stop. That don't stop. Yeah, you know, a little classic. Yeah. Luffy on top. That's all. Yeah,
for sure, man. And so I would go to this military base, get on this elliptical, right, just to move my body, because I had so much bent up energy, and I was withdrawn from all these drugs, and so I was just feeling really out of whack, and I just needed to move my body. And I would like do that like probably every single day. Didn't know how to work out, didn't know how to lift. I'll just look at these Navy SEAL guys do their thing. And this one named John would come talk to me. He'd say, hey, yo, Britt, you seem stressed out. You need to try some yoga. I didn't know what the hell yoga was, but I was like, you know what? I'll try anything to get out of my head. I went to this class. It was full of Japanese women and white women. I looked really out of place. But it was something about the breath work. We call that pranayama. It was about the meditation, the intentional movement. It just spoke to me. I was always a sensitive person. And I felt like, damn, this is a vehicle for me to navigate all this built up energy in me. And the words they saying right now, I might have heard this on TV here and there, or a love song, R&B, but like these are words that I can use to figure out what's going on internally. And so I started diving into the literature. I started reading neuroscience, positive psychology, Taoism, Buddhism, anything just to, you know what I'm saying, I just wanted to tap into it. And I had the time and the privilege to do that when I was in Japan. And so I dived deep into it, and you know what I'm saying, I started practicing more yoga. I started lifting weights to enhance my yoga practice. Came back to DC, said screw politics, and knew I wanted a career in wellness, and share what I felt. So it came back to DC. Long story short, graduated. Started working at a gym, corporate box gym. It was like college again for me, learning the tricks and the tips of how to be a trainer. Got certified in yoga and boxing and group fitness, all different types of things. Working myself to the nail, 12 hours a day. Just putting that in, just in a crucible. I was really trying to just reshape my brain.
You find that balance?
For at the time period, I did hit those roadblocks. And I was looking for it.
It's very easy to find something that's a new love and new energy and pound that thing into the ground.
You're shifting addictions, right?
Yeah, that's all it is. It's like, all right, now I can find my new high here. And it's like, hey, if you find your new high in the thing that's positive and that's bringing you joy, what you realize is the human brain only has a capacity for so much when it comes to serotonin in the body.
Right.
Right. And once you run out, the thing being refilled may take 2 weeks compared to 2 hours because you may have done too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would describe myself as someone that has ADHD. I'm not clinically diagnosed, but
I saw
yeah.
you was talking about the dude who was breaking down, hey, what's the best way to combat and build new habits on ADHD?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my man might be discovering something about himself. But I didn't want to ask because I was just like, you know, when people discover stuff, sometimes you should give them a moment to bring it up themselves versus, oh, we doing a mental health talk, man.
Yeah.
So ADHD.
Right.
Like, nah, man, what if he didn't actually what if he doesn't have the language yet? Because you spoke about being someone who's highly sensitive hurt your expression and relationships with people before you got a chance to build it as someone who didn't have the language?
Absolutely.
And in what way did that affect you in life? Like, if you could bring up an example of something so simple and it's like, damn, if I only had the words or the approach. Because language isn't just words. Sometimes language is the way you approach and you say the thing and how it's digested by the other people in the room.
Let me see how I can process that. Yeah, a very emotional, and I describe myself as explosive individual before I had a language for describing what was going on internally. I feel like a lot of things just bubble up, and I was always a person who speak my mind. Kanye does come to my head a lot of times. And so I'm trying to think of an example.
His outbursts are relatable.
A general example, just in terms of my behavior, it'll be me just shutting down.
Okay.
Someone examining me or giving me criticism, and I'll just shut down.
Is that criticism that wasn't asked for?
Criticism that wasn't asked for, most of the times, absolutely, that I didn't feel like was warranted, that I felt like was invasive. That was me trying to create a shell, right? It was like, oh, you see me, you see parts of me that I don't want you to see. Man, like pieces of a man just got hearing. And so it took a while for me to recognize that my own value and people's perceptions are their perceptions.
Yeah.
And that we're all trying to heal at our own levels, and we show up for others at our own level of self-love. And that took a while to process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still learning it, honestly. Still learning it, for sure.
I'm sorry, I was like, oh, I feel that in my throat. All right, so you read a lot of literature, and you study a lot of books. Was reading a way to expand your vocabulary and expand ways that you can express yourself and be better understood?
I felt like, for me, it was, the way my brain works is very logical. You know what I'm saying? So I just literally needed to, collect that empirical data. Just literally understand what words to use to define what was going on existentially. And so for me, reading provided that template for understanding, and then through experience. 'Cause I think, and that's something I'm really working with now. I think a lot of people can read all these self-help books and be very intellectual about healing, self-work, how to meditate.
Yeah.
But what does that mean when that translates to the experience in the moment when you're dealing with somebody? And so that's something I'm still growing with. For sure.
That's actually a great point. I forgot what therapist said this on Instagram, because these therapists be like dropping gems everywhere. I actually try and tailor my experience on social media to not consume too much.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to see someone say something and my next 5 posts with tidbits of information is just only breaking down this one person's post without experience. Right? So it's like you're intellectually you're breaking down your pain and you're not giving yourself a chance to feel what's going on emotionally. Right. And what that does is that creates distance from whatever is going on. And when you create distance, that sometimes removes responsibility from you in the picture of what's going on. So then it becomes, oh, that thing did it. And it's like, well, what about your part? Because humans, we create energy. We're the reason the energy and everything is happening in the room. So you can't say, oh, this thing happened because you saw it this way. And it's like, even if you're intellectualizing what happened, you still played a part in the picture that you're painting in the moment that you're describing.
I love how you describe that. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I do it quite often. Yeah, you feel what I'm saying? It's like, oh, these blah blah blah, and then I'll come back like 5 minutes later. I'm sorry, that was my bad. I could approach that better. Yeah.
Well, Juice, I've been really interested in the work that you've been doing in the community and why you have been doing it in the community. Like, where did that come from? A lot of my stuff I do, it comes like working in the community, setting up these corporate wellness programs, setting up organizing events, finding a collective of like-minded people that are working on healing. A lot of that comes from a place of I'm trying to still heal, and I want to surround myself with a village of people that are doing that work.
Yeah.
And that comes from a place of trauma, and I know it comes from a place of trauma. So I'm still working on like what is Brit outside of trauma, outside of trauma.
No, I got
working
you.
from it, right? And so I'm interested. How did you find the space of working with people in the community?
Well, everything I've given the community has been pain or built in pain. So what I'm giving you guys when I talk out loud are my mistakes. I'm giving you guys my lessons. I say what I say in hopes that the folks in the room don't make the same mistakes that I made, or if you are making the same mistake, you're in the middle of the process of doing the mistake, you recognize the story Juice has told you and been like, oh wait, I could do this better. Or maybe I don't have to allow myself to feel this way right now, and maybe the perspective is important on why are we in this fuck shit situation. You get what I'm saying? Because mental health, so when you look at the graph of Get Home Safe, I break it down in therapy, community, and wellness, right? Therapists serve the community. The community is the one that currently has the problem, right? But therapists and wellness can't exist unless there's people. That's why the community is necessary. Now, I don't think folks in the wellness community and the therapy community are here to fix us. I think they're here to bring awareness to who we are and what we have going on. And the community itself, and I'm not just talking about those who are suffering from like depression, ADHD, suicidal ideation, and anxiety. It's our responsibility as a community to ask ourselves, who would we like to be? Not just for our loved ones, because there's too much in the mental health talk, there's too much of you need to be better for your loved ones. And now there's a bigger voice of you need to be better for yourself. Who would you like to be? Not only putting the ball in the court of the community and the people that are going through it, but also putting the ball in the court of when you were small, didn't you always want to be a hero? When you were small, didn't you always want to be a villain? Because not everybody wants to be a hero. What's the best version of the villain or the hero that you would like to be? And most people's like, why would you want someone to be a villain? Not everybody falls in love with the sun. Some people fall in love with the moon. So meet them where they are and try to make the best version of that without just the negative parts of everything that's going on. Because there is such thing as a person who's like, you're too good. I can't relate to you. You can't be that perfect, right? And then there's certain people where it's like, nah, you're going too far. I can't relate with you. That is too much. So as a community, we really have a moral responsibility to prove to ourselves, hey, can I really be this person that I would like to be? And that's probably the hardest part. The hardest part is realizing at some point when it comes to these jobs that we have, when it comes to these responsibilities that we have as sons, mothers, fathers, when it comes to the responsibilities of I made promises 5-10 years ago that I forgot about, and those promises are still following me around, am I still doing the best that I can to be who I need to be for myself? Because at the end of the day, unless you're able to be who you need to be for yourself, or you're able to fall in love with who you've had to be and how that person has had to handle things, chances are you're not going to last long enough for yourself to enjoy the fruits of that labor or the fruits of that joy. There are people who feel guilty about accomplishing things. There are people who feel guilty about not being good enough. There are people who feel guilty about just being ordinary and never having done anything. Even with awards on their desk, awards at the offices, letters that prove otherwise, no letter is ever going to be good enough unless that person is able to internally say, damn, I did do a good job. I have been working hard enough. Now, acknowledging that doesn't mean that you can't do more, but like you do have to acknowledge who you are. Like, 4 years ago, bench pressing 500 pounds, squatting 640 pounds, deadlifting like 670, almost 700, right?
Wow.
And in my head, I took a break from 2020 pandemic all the way until a month and a half ago. Folks, they see me in the gym lifting brick houses, like doing like, the other day for fun, I did like 14 sets of 225 for 12 reps, right? Supersetting. And everyone's like, oh my God, how could you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
I had no idea you were moving weight like this.
oh, no, I do.
I had no idea.
There's no cameras, that's all. And I told them, I was like, for me, it's another day in the office. And when people hear me say another day in the office, they think like, oh man, your office is really sweet. But it's like, nah, when I show up, I'm showing up today as who I need to be, because for me, it's another day. This is what you're seeing as practice. To you, it's perfect, but for me, it's practice. So, and as you and I know, working out is a mentality. It's an attitude.
Yeah.
And the same way, living needs to be an attitude. So, what's your attitude of wellness? Do you have a wellness routine? I don't have the greatest self-care routine in the morning, but I have some of the strongest afternoons on. This is what we not going to do for the rest of the day.
Okay.
You feel what I'm saying? So like, that means habitually, I know I'm not a good starter, but I'm a strong finisher.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Okay,
And
that's a beautiful way of
for
putting
you
it.
guys see the finished product.
Yeah.
The videos, the clips, the
Absolutely.
consistency, who I'm working with, what we're doing. But I know the process is slow. So when you know the process is slow, that means you have 5 mistakes you're probably going to make because your process is slow.
Yeah.
You have 5 mistakes and bumps you're going to trip over because your process isn't buttoned up as you need it to be. So when it comes to like all the speaking engagements that I've done, the people that I'm working with, feeling the needs when it comes to mental health, and what I realized and why I switched over from just mental health to mental health and wellness is, as a community, we're not well. And when I say we're not well, I'm not talking about depression, anxiety. You guys say it like that because like right now the internet is mental health, depression, anxiety. Sometimes mental health is like the bad habit that you've accepted. And you say, I'm going to change it on Tuesday, and 5 years later, Tuesday never came. You feel what I'm saying? Sometimes mental health is that conversation that I can't have because I always shut down. But once I shut down, I feel so much better. So being shut down is my mode of operation because it's fun to shut down because you feel better after.
When we get used to the,
Yeah.
we get used to the norm. We're addicted to the norm, even if that norm is trauma-inducing.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes you have to admit to yourself, like, because life is such a long place, you need pain. You need joy. You need sorrow. You need people to share it with. And if you don't have any of those things, what have you used to balance that thing out?
Absolutely. What mechanism? What vehicle?
Yeah.
Or vehicles. I think you kind of hit it all on the point. Yeah, and going back to the question of what is wellness to me, and I'm big on the divine 3, and it's 3 things: mind, body, and community. And we talk about mental health and the many different various aspects of addressing your mental health, but it all comes from self-awareness and there are different modalities for doing that self-awareness. Sitting with yourself, meditation, direction of mind, therapy, externalizing that, you having someone else that you can have a mirror of consciousness help, which you have done for me in so many ways in so many conversations already.
Every time we left an event, you're like, hey man, hey, great job, man. What you said, I'm gonna love that. I'm gonna need that later, right?
That, like, copyright everything this man said.
I'll get in the Uber and I'll be like, I don't know what I said.
Yeah.
But thank God I said it.
You just be right.
And then like I reflect on what I've said. So like I have a memory that's good enough that within 24 hours I could reflect back and understand by someone's attitude and what they brought up. I could hear the little sentence that they said, and I could hear the 3 paragraphs before that led to that sentence.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool, but I only have 24 hours with it.
Yeah.
So I either got to write it down or I got to remember, okay, that's the point that person held on to. I may want to make content because I know that person's paying attention right now. So let me tailor something from them, and then I'll put it on Instagram, and like for a whole week, folks is like, hey man, I fuck with this, thank you. And I'm just like, damn, that was one person. But that one person technically represented a room of thousands of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who have to make that same takeaway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, that mental component is a very integral part of wellness, because I think so many other things stems from that. So it starts with the mind. But one thing I've learned in my own journey, especially when it comes to healing, especially when it comes to self-awareness or trying to get out of a trauma loop, it's very difficult to beat the mind with the mind.
Okay.
It's like trying to bite the teeth with your teeth, right? And so in my journey, with all this pent up energy, I started to discover exercise, fitness, became a great vehicle for creating that internal balance. Our bodies, in some scientists describe, are our subconscious minds. And so sometimes I tell my clients the best way to get out of your head, if you got so many ruminating thoughts, is to just reconvert that energy. Now, there are some concerns that can come with that. We talked about trading one addiction from another addiction. But in many ways, it's us trying to reprogram ourselves, our dopamine centers. Like, we're addicted to those traumatic thoughts, those ruminating thoughts. How do you restructure where you apply tension? You know, mentally, you feel like you're suffering up here, but how do you choose when you're lifting weights, when you're running? You shift the stress response, and so that you become more resilient.
Yeah, and then also trauma has 3 areas. So trauma is the tension that's built up in your shoulders, your joints, how you stand, and how you hold the thing. Like, when the topic comes up, your whole body transformed from who it was before, right? Mentally, what runs through your mind? Where do you go back to? And what part of that has you in prison, and what part of that have you learned to accept? And sometimes you shouldn't accept everything. You feel what I'm saying? And then emotionally, and that's usually what the therapists are working with, how do you feel? And not just putting those feelings into words, but putting those feelings into where have those feelings led you, and why did you lose control of the feeling? Because the feelings of negativity and the feelings of positivity, both those things belong to you. But the question is, what are you willing to accept, and what are you willing to curate to benefit who you are and what's going on?
And that's the deep work. That's the deep work, which translates to how we process those things internally, whether we deal with them or not. It's obviously going to influence our relationships and how we deal with people. And that's the third component of wellness, is community. Do we have a social network? Places to feel safe, places to express, places to feel seen and heard. Most of my life, I didn't feel seen and heard. I was a fat, nerdy black kid who watched anime, didn't feel like I was attractive, didn't feel like, in a lot of cases, sometimes feeling like I was intelligent, a lot of times felt like I wasn't intelligent. And so me now being in a space where I am sober, in a space where I have created a village where I can impact and be seen and help other people feel seen, found a routine that maintains my body and my mind. But I'm still working through all that, right? I'm still trying to figure out what's the best balance of giving myself to others, giving to myself, creating.
Last week, Thursday.
Damn.
Yeah, last week, Thursday, I learned how to do the edits and everything else. And after I learned how to do the edits, I was like, oh, it's a wrap.
Do you ever get like analysis paralysis with things? I mean, I've been, in terms of like embarking on some new type of creative venture or some new type of concept, idea, learning. I gotta learn this.
So the thing is, I always get analysis paralysis, right? That's not usually the issue for me. The issue is, how do you stop analysis paralysis? I don't think there's anything wrong with being paralyzed. Wait, give me a second. All right, cool. I don't think there's anything wrong with being paralyzed in your analysis of stuff. I don't think you should guilt trip yourself from like decades of habits stopping you from getting on to your next part of the process when it comes to analyzing stuff, right? I think what's most important about analysis paralysis is, when you get paralyzed, sit down with the paralysis and talk to the paralysis. So like, why am I paralyzed? I might be paralyzed from like a monumentous amount of success that I wasn't ready for, that showed up 5 months earlier than was scheduled. Right? Okay, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I didn't learn the steps to the thing that people think I am that I don't feel I am. All right. Well, what does that have to do with you, and what does that have to do with the people that have already received the service, enjoyed who you are and what you had to deliver? Well, that's unfair to them because I'm shortcutting them. And it's like, no, you're not shortcutting them. They're happy with who you are and who you're looking to be. The question is, are you willing to meet yourself halfway? And in the meantime, while you're taking care of what you already have, are you willing to do the work in the background? And it's like, well, yeah, but I barely have time. Well, time is what you make it. You're the one who sets your schedule. You're the one who's already whatever they consider successful or active. And you're the one who's already getting it done. So, should you allow yourself moments to be paralyzed? Sure. But also, you should sit with whatever the pain or the paralysis is and don't judge yourself harshly from being paralyzed.
Man, this is material that we need to be using, dog. That's real shit. And actually, it's right on the head. When I got back from Japan, and just this year in general, how things have been scaling, it can sometimes feel, depending on where I'm at in my routine, and how centered I am, it can feel overwhelming. It's almost like, damn. Like, I didn't even think I was going to be alive 5 years ago.
I saw that post. I saw that post, and I didn't know if you wanted to feel comfortable talking about that right now.
I'm very open, very vulnerable talking about.
Because we could come back and have another sit down outside of what we're putting together for everybody.
100%, yeah, 100%, yeah. It's Men's Health Month, so actually after this, I got to run over to down the street and do a podcast, talking with 4 guys from Ricky Smiley. We're gonna have a conversation just like black men. So I'm glad this is a good little precursor to getting the juices flowing. But I appreciate you saying that, because that's what I was experiencing when I got back from Japan in particular. Damn, all this opportunity coming my way. Yeah. All these perceptions of who people think I am on the inside is still this vulnerable child that puts on this, in many extents, I am who I am and I am what I promote. But at the same time, there's a lot more vulnerability that I don't. You had a great video you posted a minute ago.
Which one?
About if people could see how you feel inside. Oh, bro, I was like, I love that video. Yeah. Right? And so that's what I was really coupling with. With some other things as well. Yeah. And recently, I just got out of an entanglement. I'll call it that. And
was it fun for yourself, at least, when you were there?
It was the beginning part. It was fun. It was almost love bombing though. We both love bombed each other. Okay. Because we had both come from places where we felt abandoned and isolated. We're both entrepreneurs. We're both in the Reiki healing world, and we're just like, let's just pour into each other. No boundaries set. And unfortunately, it went too fast, too quick. Yeah. And when I had to set a boundary, it wasn't respected. And then she pushed back with something that was seen exceedingly over the top and selfish to me, basically that you need to pay for everything. And I'm like, absolutely not.
Can I ask a question? When you guys were overly pouring into each other, did at any point you guys actually take a measure of what can your cup hold?
Literally budget out emotionally what I can do.
Like when I think the issue with love bombing isn't only hey, there's a lack of boundaries, but it may be something that you like and your cup is look, I get that we like this, but we only have 1 cup, and what they're pouring is 5 cups worth. And what happens is after they pour 5 cups worth into your 1 cup, they're like, all right, well, you got to pour it back. And you're like, whoa, wait, no, I don't have that. Even if I'm love bombing back, what you find is if you are in situations where people are mutually love bombing each other and now things have spun out of control, both people are usually going to walk away with the feeling of, well, what about me? You feel what I'm saying? Would you say that's how you felt at the end?
That could be some way of putting it.
Because that's crazy to go from this is great, all this other shit, to you have to now pay for everything. It's that's not how this started.
It was a lot. And it was crazy. It was my birthday week was coming up. Yeah. We spent every single night with each other. We had but only went out on 2 or 3 official days. We did an entire farm retreat. She was one of those girls that was at the farm retreat. I had set that up. We had a lot of business plans together and everything. And the week coming up to my birthday, I was like, hey, I rarely celebrate myself, but I want to do a number of different things with you this week. But just letting you know, I lost $10,000 in this retreat. I just got back from Japan. I just moved to a new place. I've been paying for most things. So I just want to let you know that, hey, I can't pay for everything. So I created a budget.
And you front-ended the conversation.
Yeah, and I was like, I just want to create a budget. These are things that we can do together. Just letting you know how much they cost. If you want to do them with me, you can. If you can't, I just want to let you know these are things to do. I had texted all this. And she was like, I feel some type of way about you sending a budget. I just feels tacky. I feel like
that's
I feel like
reality.
my man. I feel like I deserve a man should have to. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask you to pay for this. On my birthday week too.
And it just. I think that devalued who you are. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? You said because I think in your case, making a budget and putting a whole picture together for her is probably one of the most considerate things you can do instead of fronting and saying, nah, we could do all these things. And then one day it's nah, we can't do it anymore. I'm out of money and all this other stuff. You caught it at the point of the bridge before someone starts lighting matches
Right.
and just letting that thing catch on fire. I don't know, the bridge over at Philly, 295. That thing just burned down
Yeah, that's
last weekend.
crazy.
I was like, that was wild because
Yeah.
like it was underreported. But like that's the difference between underreported news before the explosion happens and reported news when the explosion happens. Everybody's like, oh, I don't know what happened. And it's like, usually there's one person who saw it coming and was just like, well, that's not my problem though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I felt offended. You know what I'm saying? Like not only offended, but like almost like I don't want to say the word betrayed, but just like I thought I was being considerate.
Okay.
In so many different ways. I didn't felt respected, felt undervalued, and there's so much other. So I don't want to talk your head off on this particular.
No. That's fine. That's fine. Like we friends still. So for me, it's like that's cool. I think. All right. So there's this exercise that I sometimes do with my partner. Right. We versus I. Right. Now, even though you guys are no longer together, even though it's referred to as an entanglement, relationships are relationships, whether you're dating with people, friendships, associateships, those are all ships at the end of the day. So we're all like on the same lake passing each other with the sails either high or the sails like, knocked down and just chilling on the lake, right? And what you have to ask yourself is, now that everything is over in that relationship, what part of that relationship belongs to you? And what part of that relationship belongs to who you both used to be together, right? Because like at the end of the day, when you leave a relationship or things are just done, there's still a body and people are taking certain parts that belong to them and they're like, you can keep the rest.
That's interesting.
Like
Wow.
you can pay for the service to get that cleaned up. I'm not touching that anymore. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think a way I'm processing that and replying to that is what I am proud about what I did in that relationship.
Yeah.
Is that I was considerate. I thought I was, at least I believe.
You're considerate.
Am
From your description.
And,
you were considerate of the situation.
Yes. And she may argue the opposite.
And that's fine, because that is her reality.
That's her principles. Like, yeah. And it's like, I'm not trying to force that on her. Like, look, if you believe a man should pay for everything, and will be emotionally supportive of you.
Yeah. Was that ever a conversation early on?
It was. We had a conversation about that before, actually.
So she said this is what she would like in a relationship?
Yeah.
Did you ever agree to that? Or did you just understand, well, this is what you would like, but as you can see from the way that I move, I'm not that. And the only reason I say that is because no matter what people say, this is what I would like, or this is what things should be, your actions are always going to show what the truth is of the relationship outside of expectation. And what it sounds like is she had no plans on meeting the reality of what's going on where it was. And she was like, my expectation is my expectation. I will not fold or origami no matter what.
That's where it was at. And I was like, look, that's where we had a conversation. It was like, I had the chance to have it. Let's have this conversation. And she was like, no, that's just where it is. And I was like, okay, then. Just got in.
And that's why I asked, was it at least fun? Because you feel what I'm saying? Like, imagine doing all that. Like, I'm not going to assume what you guys did or didn't do.
Some shit was fun, and then towards the end, it started getting draining. Like, in terms of pouring the cups, she was a DJ at night. Sometimes I'll be asleep. She wouldn't respect I need to get my sleep. And I was just tired. I was just pouring from shit I didn't need to have to pour. You know what I'm saying? And when I started to set boundaries, it became like an issue for her. And it was just like, and also when I would try to have serious conversations, she had like a very anxious attachment style that she would start crying. And it was like, what did I do wrong? She was constantly asking me, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And when all this happened, at first she was like that, I'm so sorry and everything. And then like 2 days of us not seeing each other, she had to come back acting really, really cold and dismissive. And I was just like,
that's too much.
It's manipulative. It was like, and I was still, I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
But outside of it being manipulative, that's how that person understands how the world around them works.
Right. And I'm not
so sometimes it's not always what's being done to you. Sometimes it's what they've learned and they don't want to unlearn. And the only reason that goes back to the we versus me. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Because what that does is, are you hurt from what may have happened? Yeah. Acknowledge that pain. Live with the pain. Sometimes soak in the pain. Sometimes put the pain in the shed with the lock on and be like, I'm going to get back to you next summer. Right? But but at the end of the day, though, you do have to be able to say, maybe this is who this person always was within our short or long stint, because life is a long place. And then just understanding, like, I may have gotten the best versions of who that person could have been, but since things didn't work out, shit was fun when I was there. You feel what I'm saying? And you probably got out at the best time. Because you got to understand, imagine if you were trying to convince yourself, I need to fight for every part of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, you don't have to fight
That's
for every
exactly
part
what it
of
was,
that.
dog. That's exactly
Actually,
yeah.
it's a relationship not working out doesn't mean you've lost.
Yeah.
A relationship sometimes not working out means you've gained the freedom and the understanding of knowing I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
But when I was there, I did belong there. But now that I've seen what it is, I can't handle that. I mean, sometimes I watch your videos on squatting and I'm like, where's that boy's knee sleeves at? You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'll see you do exercise and you have great technique, but I'm just like, is he going to wrap his wrist just in case? Because, like, as someone who's done pro tryouts for the NFL and someone who's continuously training with a broken body that's broken in like 7 different places just from like past injuries over like 15 years of like doing the sport, I always think like, that thing you love now, you're going to want to do it for 30, 40, 50 years, even when folks don't want to go to the gym anymore. So I'm thinking like, hey, are you wrapping the thing up correctly before you need Hello Kitty Band-Aids that you got to put on and be like, oh, nah, we good. I got this. And it's like, nah, maybe you could have had it with a better diet. Like, you came in, what you see me drinking smoothies. Interview days, I do smoothies. You sweat less, your body feels better, you got to go to the gym. Like, I got to go to the gym after we're done doing the sit down. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think you need to give yourself more credit for doing the proper mental and emotional inventory with yourself, right? And then sometimes you got to just take a shot to celebrate what things were. And I'm not going to say you need to let it go, but what I will say is like, you've done your part. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say move past the hurt, do it in a rush, you'll be better, there'll be another one. No, there won't be another one. But that's kind of the benefit of life, is that there won't be another one of that. And hopefully you'll move on to something that was better than whatever you've had, knowing that you got a chance to enjoy it for what it was and not what it could have been.
100%. And this is a much longer conversation. So before we transition, I think we could talk for like hours on this. This particular didn't land to other ones, but I love how you think, man.
Yeah. I've had an eventful life.
Yeah, I can tell, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just very deep into like just the human condition, like just knowing how people move. It's beautiful. You know, I'm in a place now, 4 years of healing, 4 years of being sober. That most of those 4 years were me trying to fill this void and me being self-aware of that through activities and through other people. And the beginnings of those relationships, entanglements are very toxic, and they've been getting gradually more I've been moving from a place of healing. And in this relationship, I'm proud of myself and how I handled it. I'm saying, no, this is how you believe. That's how your worldview is shaped. That's okay. I'm not here to point a finger at you, prescribe that this is wrong. I just know that's not for me.
Yeah.
Let's cut this off.
Yeah.
And right now I'm in a place where I do not want to seek a relationship. I really want to focus on myself. I want to focus on my friendships. And I haven't thought like that in years. And so I'm excited to dive into, you know, I'm going to post all these posts about healing and self-work and meditation. But no, like really, Brit, are you? Can you be happy by yourself?
Yeah.
Do you need to pour out into other people? And so that's what I'm exploring.
I think one of my greatest fears was when the pandemic started, 2020. I was like, you know, because of everything I had gone through trauma-wise, I had spent a lot of time by myself between 2018 coming into the pandemic. So I already knew I was going to be comfortable with me. I was worried if the people around me who weren't used to being by themselves, spending time with themselves, spending time with the hurt, the memories, the joy, because sometimes joy can be painful. You feel what I'm saying? The joy of, I remember this memory, let me just hit somebody up so we could go link up. And it's like, no, you can't do that. Pandemic. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, sometimes that's what being... So we have an event that's coming up on, what's that, Thursday? Last Thursday of June?
Total Truth Thursday, June 29th. It's Men's Health Month. And it's Pride Month as well, but it's Men's Health Month. And as we know, black men in general...
You can be both. You can be both.
Let's be clear.
And you can celebrate Pride and not be like, you know, of the other side.
Absolutely.
That's okay too.
Appreciate you making that clarification.
No, of course.
Very necessary clarification too. But just drawn to it, I feel like there's a huge disparity in terms of healthcare for men. Men that are seeking it, you know, men who are struggling with mental health issues, physical health issues. Me being someone who has struggled with a lot of these things, I just want to be able to create a space where men can feel heard, seen, and express themselves, and find modalities for healing.
Okay,
You said
define modalities.
modalities. There we go. Different ways of healing.
Okay.
Talking about what wellness is. Wellness for me is mind, body, community. Well, there are mental techniques, there are physical techniques, and then there's social connection where you can build and nurture this feeling of wellness. Me, from my experience, coming from yoga and becoming a trainer, I have learned that the body is a beautiful, beautiful vessel for modulating all the energy that we have built up. And sometimes the best way to get out of your head, depending on what you're going through, is to get into your body. And yoga has been a beautiful vehicle for me to explore that. And yoga obviously is a tradition that goes back thousands of years, but it's a living tradition. And I think for each community and each person, it provides them with a window into their soul. And yoga has a lot of different tenets, but for me, the 3 tenets of pranayama, breath work, what that does on a neurophysiological level, meditation or dhyana, being able to direct your mind and concentrate and take it to a place that you want to take it and be familiar with. I think the word for meditation is not to silence the mind, it's to become familiar with oneself. And then intentionality, intentional movement. Those are things that have really worked with me. And as a black man who stumbled across yoga from a place of trauma, I'm so happy I found it, because if I didn't have that, that was my window into, oh, this is a word to describe pain. This is the word to describe what I'm feeling and how I can connect with others. So in this space, Total Truth Thursdays, the goal is to have men to come there and learn different ways to address this vehicle in this existential plane. We're going to practice some meditation, learn the values of meditation, both from a scientific level and from an experiential. And then we're going to dive into some yoga. And after that, I'll let you take it from there. We're going to have just a talk on mental health.
So what you're doing is you're working on maintenance.
Yeah.
Maintenance is very important. As an athlete, because I always refer to myself in the form as an athlete, because that's who I've had most of the time being, we are always looking to become stronger, faster, wiser in terms of how we study film or how we react to whatever is going on, right? But not a lot of us sit down and think about, hey, the little muscles in between the big muscles, what are we doing to maintain that regiment in order for the foundation? Because your little muscles are some of the most important parts, right? Your flexibility, your range of how you produce power. Sometimes the way you produce power works against your body. And that's a lot of what you're doing when it comes to like the meditation, the yoga, and just sitting down and doing the breath work. Because a lot of us don't know how to breathe. If you see the amount of people in the gym who do not know how to breathe correctly under the bench press, but the bench press is one of the most popular lifts in America, right? And it's just like, nah, when you come down, you got to breathe in. And when you come out, you got to breathe out. And sometimes you got to shorten your breath on the way coming in for the range of motion and then coming out. And your lung capacity that you may have to train on the bike, on the treadmill, or just running sprints, you train that capacity for your body to handle what it needs to handle in order to perform.
Right.
Because what you're falling in love with, chances are, there's 12 different things you have to do before you get there.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
And when it comes to like these mental health discussions that I'm having with everybody, when I do allow myself to have these talks, because like I don't do public speaking engagements with everybody, right? It's very important that you have the right room of people. You're working on the right community that's ready to hear what you have to say, or is willing to at least hear you out on the points that you may need to make about their lives or what they're not doing. And then we have an open discussion. So for me, the open discussion is more important than the messaging, because the messaging is just the direction of where hopefully it goes. But the open discussion is going to really let you know what everybody actually wants.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
I love that.
That's why every single thing that you've seen me do, I will start with 20 minutes of jargon, but then I'll let people ask their questions. I want to hear what brought you here today, because that's actually what's the most important part. What would you like to discuss about what you're going through? And I don't want to philosophically approach what you have going on. I want to either give you real answers, give you real suggestions, or give you something solid that you could actually apply to what you're going through right now. Now, when it comes to like thoughts of suicide, I don't dive into thoughts of suicide. I make space for thoughts of suicidal ideations and what people are going through or why they feel the way that they feel. And then I have a follow-up of, hey, here's a person that you can call or talk to, not just a hotline. Here's some content that we've made. If you feel you relate to it, cool. If not, let me know what parts you may have related to in the conversations and come back to that. And hopefully we can find the right person or fit. Because at the end of the day, it's what are you willing to fight for and how much time do you have? Because not everybody's lives are the same. Not everyone's bills are set up the same. Not everybody has the same financial situation. But we all have the capacity to care. So within the rooms that we plan on building on this men's retreat, when we're sitting down, when we're doing the yoga, when we're doing a meditation, when we're having the conversation, and we're making space for not only vulnerability, but that person's truth, no matter how opposite of my truth that truth is, are we making space for folks to be heard? Not just therapy and them getting a therapist. Are we making space for if I bump into that person 2 years from now, we could still have a conversation on what may have happened or may not have happened? And are we building bridges with the men in our community? And are we building places of care and I got you when I can? Or are we just making it business? And if we are making it business, that's fine. But the understanding of the business that I've created and the people that I work with is we lead with our hearts, but we make sure not to bleed on the tarp.
So much of this honestly comes, and so much of my business, my work, comes from an ethos of, I love how you said it, healing is a verb.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure out what that means.
Yeah. And it's going to take time.
And it's going to take time. And we'll continue. You know, it's just, you know, life isn't linear, it's a spiral. The Instagram slogan said, we circle back on the same truths, find deeper meaning each time.
Yeah.
And for me, cultivating these spaces as I have done over the last couple years is really just a process of just, man, what are y'all feeling? Because this is how I'm feeling on the inside. Like, I need this just as much as the brothers that we hope come there probably may need it as well, right? And so that's the place that this is coming from. I'm excited to hear from these brothers. I'm excited to hear what comes out of my mouth, because sometimes I start a sentence, I don't even know where it's going to end. I'm excited to hear what comes out of your mouth.
It's genuine.
Yeah, and it's that sense of brotherhood, that sense of village. You know what I'm saying? I was a military brat where I had to get uprooted every single 6 months, and I just had to go from this village to this village, and I felt like I had no foundation. And now being in a space where I'm sober, after 4 years of sobriety.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that. 4 years of truly healing and doing active steps to do it through ups and downs. Now I'm in a space where, you know what I'm saying, like, let's tap in on, like, my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like what are y'all going through as men? You know what I'm saying? What are y'all going through? Funny enough, a lot of people in the fitness industry, especially being a fitness coach, a group fitness instructor, a lot of people in the fitness world are women. So I deal with a lot of women. I talk to a lot of women, know what they're going through, but I think it's important that we start to highlight what's going on with men, like, and where can we talk about this shit? Like,
And then after making the places for folks to be able to talk about this, is this something that we're gonna look to make reoccurring, or are we gonna find better places, open spaces, and accessible places for people to reach out to us and say, hey, we got you from this time to this time. Bring snacks. Let's sit down.
Yeah, man. I mean, this spot is, you know, it's out of Maryland. We're you know, we're DC based. It's a farm, so that adds some earthiness, novelty of getting out the city, groundedness. But you know what I'm saying, considering we're based in DC, you know, we may think of transitions, but we do want this to be accessible. I think that's a word. We want this to be accessible for people who think it makes sense for them. And so, I'm just very intrigued on what we can do with that type of space.
Yeah, and I look forward to who else we work with after doing this. Like, what people reach out to us, what are their expectations of what we've done? Are they really taking time to understand what we're looking to create? And are people going to be able to open up their hearts and their resources to us so we can make it do what it do? Because we've been doing this 2019 for you how long now?
Really since 2022.
And you've done a great job.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So, like, now it's our responsibility to build it onto greater and just be honest about who we are and who we're not. And, you know, with all the reading that you do and the studying that I do, anything is possible. So
that's love.
Yeah, so appreciate you coming through, man.
Yeah,
Looking forward to what we do.
Yeah.
See you guys in 2 weeks.
Total Truth Thursdays.
Where can folks find you? Since we're here right
Y'all
now.
can find me on profitfitness.life on any platform. Again, it's profitfitness.life. Prophecy is vision and manifestation. I appreciate y'all, fam.
All right, appreciate you, man.
There
Thank
it
you,
is.
bro.
It is. That's my favorite line. There it is. As an introvert, the line, there it is, you can apply in so many different conversations to sound